Welcome to Ivy Cottage, and this series is a series I'd like to call A Nod to Self-Sufficiency. So I'm here at my father's house, and this is his garden, or part of his garden, and at the moment I keep a couple of hens here. It's something I've always had over the years, is a couple of hens, and I've come to really like having them and keeping them. And it's for a number of reasons. And the first reason is the egg quality that you get is second to none. And the flavour of the eggs is amazing, and the colour of the yolk is golden. It's not yellow, it's golden. It's absolutely fantastic. And sometimes when I cook an egg in the morning first thing, and I've taken it from the chicken coop and I poach it, it's like a boiled egg instead of a poached egg. It's just so firm, and the protein is so strong and so fresh in it. And it just has to be good. And the other thing I like about it is these hens seem really happy. And they just scratch around in the grass all day, and they make a little dust bath for themselves, and they have a little drink, and every so often I bring them down a little treat. A bit of sweet corn or a few oats or whatever I happen to have around, or today I've got a bit of a melon. So they're very happy, and having food coming from a happy creature is a good thing, because it makes you feel good then that you're doing the right thing. And this is definitely the right thing for me. So I'm just going to give them the melon, and you can see how they react. So I've always liked the idea of self-sufficiency, and it is just for me an idea. I don't think I'll ever get to the point that I'm self-sufficient. So this is my little nod towards self-sufficiency. And I also like growing vegetables and fruit and things like that, and have tried it to some extent over the years, even though I've never really had somewhere to settle down properly and really grow vegetables, apart from 1 or 2 years where I did. So that's something that I want to bring to Ivy Cottage as well. And it's something that runs in my family. And my dad has a polytunnel here to the right hand side of me, and if you hear that flapping noise, that's actually the polythene that's moving on the tunnel. And I'll just show you quickly from the outside here what he's got. Is quite impressive. I just want a small glass house, just something small and easy, and I'm going to start with that. But that's something that's going to come in the future, and hopefully I'll do a nice video for that in the future. So yeah, so this is my little nod to self-sufficiency for the moment. And what I've got is I've got a dog pen. It didn't cost a whole pile, and it's just got mesh on the outside. The hens can't get out, and the fox can't get in. And what I've done is, when I got it, I got put extra ties to tie the mesh on properly, and I've also put a net completely over the top of it. Now it came with a sort of sunscreen net, but I've put a secondary net over the top of that as well, just to keep everything out that shouldn't be in there. Then inside, I actually built the coop myself out of a bit of timber, bits of timber. I've got some 2x2 timber making up a base, and I made a base first, and then I made the house for the top of it. This is the 4th hen house that I've ever made. I've made different variations, some with nesting boxes where you could lift up the lid and various different things. But the thing that I found most difficult to do in some of these houses that I built is actually clean them properly. And that was the focus of this one, was I wanted to make one that was really easy to clean out and easy to get into and all that. So I decided to make this. So I'm in here inside the chicken run. Unfortunately the camera has to stay outside because there's not enough room, but you'll get the idea. So the original design that I made was a set of legs to support the chicken house on, and I put 2 handles out here either side, and there's the same on the other side. And the reason for that is these hens will actually go through this grass quite quickly, and they'll strip it bare. And you can't keep hens on the mud all the time. It's not fair. Now, there's a patch behind me that is quite muddy, but with the amount of rain that we had the last couple of weeks, they really did run it right down into the mud very quickly. So I've got 2 handles here either side, so that one person can stand that side and I can stand this side, and you can actually lift the chicken coop up off the ground, and you can move it to its new location quite easily. So I just tip over the dog pen, I put it up a little bit further, I walk the chicken coop up into the next section of grass, and I tip the chicken coop down again, or the chicken dog run back down again. It's a 2-man job, but it's actually quite easy and doesn't take very long, about 5 minutes and it's done. So it's a good way of moving them on. There's probably easier ways of doing it, but this is my way of doing it, and I do like to have the hens up off the ground. I prefer to have them up off the ground than on the ground. I think they're safer that way, and if anything did get in here, at least they have some element of protection for a while anyway. So the original design, I had the ladder coming down the front, and I had this little door that you could open up and let the chickens in and out, or the hens in and out, in the morning and the evening. Well, I used to leave it open all day, and they actually walk up themselves. That's something hens will do. When you get them first, they are a bit, I suppose, they're not educated in what they should do as a hen, because they've just been kept in a shed. When they're hatched, they're like these are a productive hen. They're not a heritage breed, so these were destined for probably a battery farm. So they're here instead, which is probably lucky for them. So when you get them first, for the first few days, they don't know how to go up the ladder. So what you do is you just lift them up very gently, and you put them into the hen house. And after about 2 or 3 days, they'll actually walk their way up themselves. So you'll come down in the evening to put them to bed, and they'll be in bed already. And at that stage, then it only takes about 3 days. At that stage, then they know what to do. And what you do is you just open the door in the morning, and they'll make their way out. And then in the evening, they make their way up, and you just come back and shut the door. But then I started my new job, and winter started kicking in. And the evenings were getting dark very soon, and I don't like to have them out in the open after dark, and I don't like to have their house open after dark, because that's when predators come out, like foxes and things like that, come out to have a little look for food. And the hens produce my food. They're not food, so not fox food anyway. So that's it. So I had to upgrade the hen house a little bit, and that's where I'm going to bring you to this side of the hen house, and I can show you what I've got. It's extremely fancy. So here we are at the side of the hen house, and I actually took out the timber sheeting that I had down the side here, and I put in a piece of plywood instead to mount this door on. And it's actually a special door. It's not one that you have to open manually. It does it all itself. And before I go any further, I'm going to say that I'm not sponsored in any way with this door, but it's an absolutely, truly magnificent door, and for that reason, I don't need sponsorship to promote this door, because it's fantastic. It absolutely does its job. It takes, as far as I can remember, and this is how good it is, I think it takes 4 AA batteries, but it's so long since I changed them that I don't know. And there's this little control panel that goes beside the door, and then there's the door itself. And there's a little photocell just here, and that detects the level of sunlight. And that will open the door in the morning when the sun gets high enough, and it will close the door in the evening when the sun gets low enough. And you can program it to close 30 minutes after the sun, after the light drops, or you can get it to open before the sun comes up just a little bit. You can vary it. There's sensors in it to vary it. And it's also a safe door as well, in that it can't crush a chicken. And it works, as I said, automatically. So you can actually program it to open and close according to the light. You can also program it to open and close according to a time. And then you can manually open and shut it as well. So you just have to press any button there for 3 seconds and hold it for 3 seconds, and the door will shut. So I'll be able to demonstrate how it opens and closes. So I'm just going to press the button. So 1, 2, 3, and the door starts shutting. And it will make its way all the way across, nice and slowly. And as I said, it's just powered off the batteries inside this box. And it says there the battery life, it tells you how much battery life is left, and it says 80%. And I've had this here for, I don't remember how long actually. I don't remember how long I've had it here for, but the batteries have barely been used at all. It just triggers that motor to open and keeps the power alive in this unit. So it really does work well. And to open again, you just press and hold the button, and you can see the 3, 2, 1 counting down, and there you go, it opens back up again. It's quite quiet, and the chickens aren't scared of it. The first few times you could see them not exactly loving it, but it's perfectly safe. And there we go, it's open again. So the next thing I'm going to show you, which is a fantastic feature about this door, is 1, 2, 3, and we're going to close it again. Except that didn't work. One moment. 3, 2, 1, there we go, now it's closing. So the good thing about this is if a hen sticks its head out, or something like that, or is deciding to walk out, the door will gently shut, and then it will open again. And that hasn't hurt me in any way whatsoever. And if it's at night time, and it's supposed to shut, and the hen has gotten in the way, it will wait a few seconds, and then it will attempt to shut again. And if the hen is still in the way, the door will shut. and we'll trigger the anti-closing mechanism and we'll open again. And that's going to keep happening until the obstruction is cleared from the door. So it won't give up, it won't say, ah look, I tried closing, good luck, happy dinner fox. So this will keep going. So this time now I'm not going to block it and it will remain shut. And there we go. And they're safe inside there. There's no way of pushing this door open. It doesn't want to come off or anything like that. There's no one going to get inside that. So it's a fantastic little invention made by a company called Omelette. They're available online from a number of retailers, and I think they're available directly as well. I can't remember exactly where I bought this one from, but it's an absolutely fantastic unit. Has caused me no trouble at all. Comes with a guarantee and all that sort of thing. So there you go. Yeah, there's an email address there or a website address there. www.omelette.co.uk, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So this automation process has made it really easy for me to keep hens here, because the door just opens and closes itself. So all that's left to do for me is make sure that they have food and water, and there's something interesting to keep them going. So for example, the melon, I didn't go out and buy a melon specially for the hens. I actually had one myself, and I'm living on my own, so there's only so much melon that I want. And when there was a bit left over there, it was starting to go past its best, and at that stage I brought it down here to the hens, and they've had a nice little peck around it, and they've left it now, and they'll come back to it later on. And if I come back in a day's time, all there's going to be is the skin of the melon. The whole lot will be pecked absolutely clean, and it's just a little treat for them to enjoy. And I give them other things like sweet corn, and even my dad grows corn on the cob sometimes, and I'll tie one on a string and hang it up, or I do the same with an apple, and it just gives them something to do, to peck at, something different, and keep their minds happy and aware and alert, and just keeping your mind healthy even for us is a good thing. So exercise, walking, doing something different is good for humans. It's the same for hens. So there we go. So that's my coop. So there's just a bit of felt on the roof as well. That just keeps it dry, and apart from that, it's a fairly simple design. So I must open up the front and show you how I can clean it out, and also this is the exciting bit. So now I'm back inside again, and as I said, this door is sort of a bit redundant now with my new fancy door on the side, but it's handy. You can have a quick peep in there without opening the side door, so it still has its use. But what I do for cleaning and that sort of thing is I can open this door. But the best bit, obviously, to keeping hens, for me anyway, apart from it's actually very therapeutic, and watching them peck around is very therapeutic, but the eggs are absolutely fantastic. So we'll have a look inside and see if we can find any eggs. And there certainly is. There we go. Freshly laid this morning. Absolutely beautiful free range eggs. You can't go wrong with those. They're quite large as well. They start off quite small and they get bigger and bigger. So they're absolutely fantastic. So you can see inside here I've got a sort of perch just up along here. There's a shelf behind it. Some hens like to perch, some hens like to sit, and it does vary. I've had hens that all like to perch. I've had hens that like to perch and others that like to sit, and this crowd, the whole lot of them like to sit. They don't like to perch at all. So in fact, none of them use this rail at all. So they all just, one of them likes to sit up here, two of them like to sit in the same box, and then one of them likes to sit out the front. And that's the way it is every night, and that's the way it's been all year. It's sort of a funny thing. They have their habits and their rituals and the way they like things. So inside you can see there that I've got the sawdust, or wood shaving should I say, and it's just you can buy a big bag of it down in one of the agricultural shops or hardware shops, and you just put a nice layer of it inside there. And the advantage of the wood shavings is over something like straw is it absorbs moisture. So if there is any moisture in there, it gets absorbed into the wood shavings and keeps things dry inside there, which is nice for the hens. It's quite cosy and warm as well, and it has insulative properties. So they're very happy inside there. I clean it out every so often as the chicken poop builds up. I clean it out, and that goes into the compost heap then, which is fantastic because that will break down. And this wood shavings, in a compost heap you can't just have vegetables breaking down, you must have a carbon element to it, like for example shredded paper, or in this case wood shavings. Very handy for making good compost. So it all goes round and round and round. I'm happy, they're happy, the compost heap is happy, that goes into the vegetable garden, the vegetables are happy, and everyone's happy. So that's an achievement, I think. So as I said earlier, this is the fourth chicken coop that I've ever built, and it's by far the best. And there's a couple of reasons for that, and I just wanted to quickly go through them. The first reason is the whole front of the chicken coop falls down. There's no lip or anything stopping the sawdust from being shoveled out or getting in the way. So I can get in there with a little shovel, and a little fire shovel is what I use, and a brush, and I can scoop it all out, make sure it's lovely and clean before I put new wood shavings back inside. And previous chicken coops that I've had have had multiple openings. I've had ones on the side and the back, and maybe one up over the nesting boxes for getting in. And unfortunately, all that happened is water got in, and it just wasn't easy to clean out, and they just didn't work properly. And another problem I had was actually moving the chicken coops to a new location was very difficult because I hadn't put anything like handles on, and that's why I have put these handles on either side, so it's easy to lift up and move, and it really works. So tell me what you think about my new and improved designs over the year. Obviously you haven't seen the previous ones, but this is by far the best. So let me know what you think in the comments below. So feeding the hens is quite straightforward. And what I have here is I'm going to just lift it off there for you. And it does need a bit of a wash because it's been here about three days. There's about 3 days food inside this. But what it is it's this little drum. You turn it upside down, you fill it up with chicken feed, you screw this base on it upside down, then you turn back this right way up. And there's little channels just up inside here where all the chicken feed can drop down, and the hens can feed all the way around the outside. And that's just a couple of euro. I think this one now was about 20 euro, I think, to buy, but it was actually a gift to me from my mother. So it's actually a fantastic design, one of the best ones I've ever had. There is metal ones out there as well, but the plastic ones are so much easier to clean, and it is important to keep things clean with the hens. And I just have a little hook just underneath there that I hang the string on, and the chicken coop itself gives the feed a bit of shelter so it doesn't get wet, and they can happily peck away at it. There you go, happy out. So this is their little drinker, and it's the same thing as the food dispenser. You turn this bucket upside down, you fill it full of water, and then you put the base on it and flip it the other way up, and there's a little hole in the side, and when the water reaches the level of the hole, it stops, and there's water all the way around the outside there, and the hens can drink away, and it tops itself up automatically. And this is a reservoir, so they'll never run out of water as long as you keep this bucket topped up. So I come down every night. I check it anyway just to make sure that they do have food, but in general I top these up every 3 days, and I give them a good wash and a rinse. So it's quite straightforward. So this is my doggie. She's Tabitha, and as I said, she's 14 years old, and she's getting on in life a little bit, but she's still the best doggie in the world. She's the best dog you could ever wish for. Oh, she's a good doggie. But she has a special talent, and that is anytime I lose my hens, she can find them. It's a skill she developed herself naturally. One night I went out years and years ago, probably about 10 years ago, and some of my hens had got out, and I just called for her, and I was just messing. I said, "Tab, where's your chickens?" And she went flying off, and I used to go down to the chickens every morning, obviously, and say, "Come on, Tab, we go down to the chickens." So she obviously associated the word with the hens. So I said, "Tab, where's your chickens?" And she went sniffing off around the grass, and when she found the hen, she'd sit down. So I pick up the head and put it back in, and then we go and find the next one. And we found quite a number of them. We did lose one or two. But recently when I got this pen, I thought with 6 foot high walls that would be sufficient, that they wouldn't get out. But on their first night here, they actually got out, and they started roosting in the hedgerows. But unfortunately they weren't up high enough, and this is what I'm saying about hens. They don't have enough sense to protect themselves and mind themselves, and that's why we need to mind them. So they were just sitting there in the hedgerows, but I couldn't see them because it was dark. So I called on Tabitha and I said, "Where's your chickens?" And she went off sniffing around, and we thankfully found all 4 of them. But it's just a special talent she has, and I don't know what I'm going to do when you're gone. I don't know what I'm going to do when you're gone. She's the best doggie. So that's my Tabitha, and hopefully she'll make it to get to Ivy Cottage as well. So now I'm going to touch on something else, and it's just a matter of opinion, and it's something that's I think it's something that's slightly, I wouldn't go as far as saying annoyed me, but it's something that's caught my attention, I suppose. And I think the way it's portrayed is slightly negative. And what it is these hens I've bought, and their productive laying lifespan from a commercial point of view is approximately 1 year. And after 1 year in a commercial setting, they're dispatched, okay? And they probably end up in things like animal food and that sort of thing. Obviously, for commercial reasons and the pressure that's on our food system, that has to happen because these companies can't afford to be keeping hens that aren't productive. It's a money-making machine. It's maybe not so much about the animal's quality of life, and that's why we have these battery farms, which, you know, personally I don't agree with. There has to be a better way than that. There really does, but I suppose, you know, it's easy to make a comment. It's harder to back it up with a solution sometimes, so maybe I should end that there. But for me, keeping hens is a wonderful thing, and my hens aren't dispatched after a year. In fact, normally they die of natural causes. I just come out in the morning 4 years down the road, and they're just peacefully, you know, they've peacefully dispatched and headed off to the big fluffy clouds up in the sky. And it's quite a shock when you do come out, you know, when they do last about 4 years. When you do come out and you do see one of your beloved hens dead, it is quite a shock. It's not a nice thing to see, you know, and you would be sad because, you know, you develop a great fondness for them. But that's not to worry about at the moment, because you've got to set the bad against the good, and the good is these hens get to live a fantastic life here. It couldn't be better. You can't let these hens out to run around the fields and head off into the forest and come back at night, because they won't, and the fox will get them and they will be dead. They don't have enough sense to try and survive naturally in a natural environment. So this is the best environment that they can possibly have. They're safe, protected. I'm looking after them. I make sure that they've got food and water and clean bedding, and in return they produce eggs, which is absolutely fantastic. So these hens are going to stay here for 4 years with me, and on the first year they're highly productive, and every day I come out there's eggs every day. And then what happens is they start declining their production of eggs, so next year there'll be slightly less, and as they get older there's even less. But there's an advantage to that in a way. Although you get less eggs, the eggs are colossal. They're absolutely massive. You can the normal weight for an egg is somewhere between 50 and 60 grams, we'll say. When these hens start getting older, your egg goes up to 90 and sometimes up as far as 100 or just over 100 grams in one egg, which is absolutely massive. And when you crack it into the frying pan, it's huge. And it's actually a delight in itself, so it's sort of worth waiting the day or two to have that massive egg. For me, I just like keeping them. I'm not going to look at this from a commercial point of view or what it costs me, because the cost is far outweighed by the wonderful, golden, absolutely delicious, fresh, full of protein, fresh protein egg. You just can't beat it. So now, this is the point where I'm coming to, and the point that has slightly upset me is I've seen a poster, and I think to sum it up, it's by a vegan group, and they show a hen, and if I can try and find I can't quite remember what it is, what they say, because I just think it's a bit manipulative what they say. They say, buying free-range eggs, ? This is what you pay for. And it shows a hen, and the hen has no feathers on its breast, okay? Now, battery hens will be missing feathers because they're completely deranged from being in a cage and they pluck out their own feathers, and that's cruel. But a free-range hen that's missing its feathers, like they show in the photograph here, is a hen that's naturally molting. So they're actually contradicting themselves slightly in this, because if this free-range hen is molting, it shows that the company that's caring for this hen is planning on keeping it into its second year, because hens will molt by the end of their first year. And when they molt, it's because they're growing new feathers. So if a hen is molting, it's not producing eggs. So this poster where they have this hen without missing feathers saying the cost of free-range eggs, in not so many words, is sort of contradictory, because if the company is still holding on to this hen, they're planning on keeping it for a second year. Also, this hen is not suffering, it's just growing new feathers. So I don't think, I think there's bad things in some industries and in some food production industries, but I think frightening people into taking a different direction in life is wrong. Encouraging, maybe, that's a good idea, you know, especially if there is advantage to be made from it, but frightening people is wrong. And if you look at my hens here, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think they're happy creatures. And if we all decided to be vegans, which is a perfectly valid choice, if you do decide to be a vegan, that's wonderful, and it's a challenging choice to make, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful choice, because then you aren't relying on animals, and that's fantastic if that's what you choose to do. But these hens are happy, and I'm happy with my choice here. I think that's the point that I'm making, and I think, as I said, with that poster, it just annoyed me slightly because it's sort of scaring people into thinking that this animal, or this bird with red skin showing, which hens have red skin, that's just what they are. You think, oh, this poor cruel bird, this is what free range hens look like. Well, that's not factually correct. These are free-range hens, and they have all their feathers, and they're perfectly happy. And at some stage later on in this year, they will stop laying eggs because they're going to have to put all their energy into making new feathers, and they're going to lose their feathers mainly around the breast area, and then slowly out through the wings and their tail and so on. And then they grow back new ones, and there's these little quills come up, and they just sort of fluff up at the end, and then the feather grows out from that. And then when they've their feathers grown again, then they start laying eggs and they head into their second year. And after that, normally they moult nearly twice a year, in spring and in autumn. So there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that happening. I hate people being misleading. I hate people intimidating and frightening people. There's no need for it. You know, there's a better way of encouraging people to make better choices. So that's just my little thing. I just saw the poster. It annoyed me. You mightn't be with me on it, you might be against me on it. It's not a personal attack or anything. I just think it's misinformed, that's all. And I just wanted to clear that up. Hens molt, it's what they do. The battery industry, I don't personally agree with. I like this, but that's easy for me to say. Anyway, that's my rant over. Back to the hens. So behind me here is one of my dad's tunnels. So as you can see, this outdoor life and the want for nature and growing your own stuff is definitely in the family blood. And as you can see, this polytunnel is truly massive. It's probably bigger than a tennis court, and there's actually a second one down beyond it. And he grows everything inside there. There's actually trees growing inside these tunnels behind me. There's apricot, plum and pear trees growing there, and he grows everything inside there, from onions, carrots, potatoes, peppers, tomatoes, strawberries, raspberries, apricots, plums, pears, you name it, he grows it. Lettuce, radishes, everything. Even squashes and things like that. And actually there's a grapevine inside here as well, which we only planted last year, and there's only a few small grapes in it last year, so hopefully this year it'll be a better crop. And we've got varieties that grow well in Ireland, and we bought them from a business called Future Forests, which is down here in Cork, and they do tend to stock a lot of a variety of things that you perhaps wouldn't go out and get anywhere else, so they're well worth checking out. So yeah, so hopefully I'll get a greenhouse for myself in Ivy Cottage. I'm not going to go this big because obviously, you know, as I said, I do have a nod towards self-sufficiency, but it's not something that I can commit to fully, where I'd go off-grid. It's not something that I want to do. I do want to be part of, I suppose I do want to be part of the system, you know. I do want to work for a living and pay my taxes and have a hospital to go to and all those sort of things. I do believe in society as well. So hopefully now I get a nice, I'd like to get a glass house if possible. They're quite easy to clean and keep maintained, and there's some really great ones out there. So that's something for the future. But for the moment, it's going to be on with the build. So we'll see you back at Ivy Cottage, and we'll get cracking on the building again.